Hello. This time we're going to talk about the hamstrings muscle group. The hamstring muscle group is the muscle located in the posterior aspect of the thigh. It's formed by three muscles: the biceps femoris, the semitendinosus, and the semimembranosus. So as we look at this picture, we're going to start with the biceps femoris. As the name implies, bicep, the muscle have two different heads. You have a long head that attach to the ischium tuberosity, and then you have a short head that attach to the linea aspera of the femur. So when you talk about the actions of the biceps femoris, we can say that only the long head of the hamstring perform extension of the hip, because it's the head that crosses the hip joint. The short head of the bicep only crosses the knee joint posteriorly, so it will not be active at the hip joint. So we can say that the hamstrings in general, they perform extension of the hip and flexion of the knee. So the only particular fibers of muscle that do not perform extension of the hip will be the short head of the biceps femoris. Here you can see the silhouette of the long head of the biceps femoris, and then you can see the short head of the biceps femoris. And here's the opposite. This is not the best view, but you can see how the muscle goes from the ischium tuberosity, and it will attach at the distal end on the fibula, actually the head of the fibula. So besides performing extension of the hip and flexion of the knee, when the knee is in a flex position, it will assist on lateral rotation of the flexed knee. The second muscle that make up the hamstring is the semitendinosus. The action of the semitendinosus is flexion of the knee, and it will also assist as the other hamstrings to do extension of the hip. This muscle will be part of the pes anserinus. It's one of the three muscles that make up the tendons on the pes anserinus. So again, the muscle will perform extension of the hip, flexion of the knee, and because it's on the medial aspect of the leg, it will assist in medial rotation of the flexed knee. The next muscle that forms the hamstring group is the semimembranosus. And again, semimembranosus is very similar to the semitendinosus. It will go from the ischium tuberosity. It will insert in the posterior aspect of the tibia, and again, will perform flexion of the knee and also extension of the hip. We have to be clear, there's other actions or other functions that can be performed by the hamstrings group, but I'm just working or explaining the main actions, trying to keep these basics so you can understand the main action of this particular muscle. When you look at the entire muscle group, one thing that we have to be aware is that the hamstrings perform extension of the hip and flexion of the knee, but when you're moving, the functional aspect of the hamstring is to decelerate. It's the muscle that when you're running and you want to slow down, is the muscle that basically put the brakes. So that's why it's a muscle that is more active in eccentric contraction than concentric contraction. Okay, if you really want to strengthen the hamstrings, walking, the best way to do it is walking downhill. Because when you're walking downhill, you basically are braking as you go forward. Because if you accelerate, you will, tilt yourself forward and fall down. One of the advice that I always give, that if you really want to work your hamstrings and you want to feel how sore they get, is take the elevator to the 20th floor and then come down the stairs. Then take it again and come down. You're going to see that within the next 2 or 3 days, you're going to be very sore because of the eccentric load of the hamstrings. So I just shared that with you so you can see how muscles, you can pay attention to the action based on what the books or what we learn overall, but the anatomical action of the muscle is slightly different to the functional aspect of the muscle. And those are issues that we're going to be dealing with a little bit later. For now, again, you have the hamstrings, three muscles, the biceps femoris, the semitendinosus, and the semimembranosus. Main action will be extension of the hip and flexion of the knee.